libonakala ngentuthu emnyama emafini liyoduma emini. Isosha liyovuka namanxeba lithabathe umshini. Izinkonjane ziyokwakhela ngodaka emthini. Izigqile ezimnyama ziyosuka ngejubana amadadla salensimini. Ingoma iyovunywa nangamaqhawe afela uthulini emarikane ezimayini. Kazi niyayibona into eseniyenzile senikhohliwe yini? Kunetshotshombe nyuvesi elasuswa ebusuku ngesihluku.
Students must fall. Students must fall.
Our country was built on TRC. I know the false reconciliation of our people with the master. And what we are calling, in fact, is different. We are saying the university has refused to sit down and thoroughly resolve these issues. And I think it's only applying the very same method of engagement as we understand the politics of where we are today, where we invite them again to the very same table but differently this time, in saying, let us resolve these issues. Failure not to resolve these issues, then we understand that we have tried by all means to sit down and talk. So the TRC Sharpeville campaign, it must be understood within the very same light of an attempt of people who are constantly each and every day trying to negotiate their spaces with white people. Again, we are then humbling ourselves and saying, let us try the mode, let us go in and engage. And who we can see who's really about justice, who's really about restorative methods in dealing with situations, who's really about engagement.
Hi, my name is Zola Shokani. I am a black, queer, feminine presenting body who is the product of Black Death at UCT. On the 16th of February 2016, we had the Shackville protests, and so what then resulted from that was the expression of black pain through the expression of black pain through like the abolishment of colonial symbols. And that week from the 16th until 16, 17, 18 until the 18th or the 20th of February, I was severely victimized by UCT. I got involved in the Shackville protest because they speak about the housing crisis, they speak about the severe exclusion that UCT perpetuates, and I knew that these fees were too high because I couldn't even afford to pay my own fees. Even to this day, I am still facing a fee block of 100,000 rand. I got involved in the Fees Must Fall protests last year after suffering a mental breakdown due to severe conscientization of the black body not fitting into the white supremacist capitalist system. And then I got involved in the Fees Must Fall protest, and then I got raped on UCT property. Then on the 16th of February, I got involved in the housing crisis, and due to my personality as being a black student, I then became victimized. I was sent to Grooteski for an involuntary psychiatric analysis, and I've been made homeless. My parents, the school even went as far as to contacting my parents, and I was told that I would be allowed to come back into the school second semester should my fees still be paid. Now we are in the beginning of June and I still have a 100,000 fee block, and I am still living on the streets as a black queer body. I am not safe. I am in a severely unviolent spacing. My psychology is deteriorating, and I am just afraid to ask for help because the system has silenced me so much so that they sent me to Grooteski because I was in black pain. I've been homeless for 4 months now, and I've been in the cold. So bring me back to my school because I deserve my education. I don't know what else to say.
we students walked to union buildings and to parliament, we weren't confused. We knew what we wanted. We wanted free black-centered socialist education. It's 2016 now and students continue to be victimized. When we championed the cause, the whole country agreed with us that our cause was noble. I think today those who have been punished and victimized and oppressed, while we enjoy this education and this 0%, which isn't really a gain, we should ask ourselves, can we enjoy this while those who are oppressed and victimized and cannot enter these institutions? Is it fair that we leave them by the wayside?
Because everyone benefited from fees must fall, be it black, white, and everyone, because of the protesters, I would like all the students and everyone in the country to stand together in solidarity with the suspended and expelled students in the country, because what they were suspended and expelled for was a noble cause.
The class of 2016, the students across universities in South Africa, are calling upon professionals, we are calling upon our parents, we are calling upon our fellow students, we are calling upon the community to stand with us as we are fighting against the systemic oppression that has been the instrument of black dispossession, victimization of students at universities across the country.
Shakeville was a symbolic representation emanating from issues such as financial exclusion and the student housing crisis at UCT. And the demolition of the shack by private security led to an inevitable conflict because prior to the events of Shakeville, university management refused to demilitarize campuses in order for those funds to be channeled towards destitute students. Instead, they paid companies such as G4S that is complicit in human rights violations across the world. So Shakeville went on to inspire the erection of a shack at Stellenbosch University in May 2016. And what this represented was the conditions of 150 workers that were dismissed during the Fees Must Fall protest and End Outsourcing protest in November 2015. And the conditions of the townships which the shack represented, conditions of the townships on the periphery of Stellenbosch, which is in stark contrast to the opulence of Stellenbosch University. And what you have at the university is workers doing back-breaking tasks, but they are unable to send their child to this university. So I would say that Shakeville effectively raised awareness as to how universities have isolated themselves from the surrounding township and ghetto community. Also, it also highlights the physical and psychological means through which universities impose in order to exclude black people. And this is demonstrated best by the criminalization and the victimization of student activists that have been rallying against a capitalist, racist formation in realizing a decolonized country and a black-centered socialist education system.
My name is Apo Mailili. One of the students in CPUT was suspended, interdicted. We endorsed the TRC of CPUT and the TRC of UCT. The reason why we raised the issue of TRC, we need to find ways of a restorative justice to whatever political situation that happened in our institutions, to avoid continuous protest and everything. So it has come to our understanding and our thinking that the TRC, as it was the case in 1994, to find an amicable solution to a political problem. So the issue of the TRC is there to actually give a restorative justice and to make a point. We took a stance on the suspensions of students and the continuous cases within the courts that are actually pending. So 78 students of CPUT are still attending various court cases which are escalating in terms of the level of courts, of the courts, from magistrate courts to the regional courts, which were the prospect that they may actually rise to the high courts. So TRC is here to actually give every restorative means to justice, and we call upon all the people who participated from the TRC of 1994 to also be part and parcel of how do we make South Africa to actually grow up of this thing which has happened from Feesmasfall. Feesmasfall was there to actually give a narrative of why students need education, which they don't and they really don't afford. So Feesmasfall was a protest to actually give education, not a way to actually deprive students education. So we call upon everyone in the country, even international, to embrace the idea of the TRC as it was in 1994.
My name is Zama. I'm a member of Feesmasfall, former student of Wits University, and currently suspended for our role we played in Feesmasfall. We're making these videos to appeal to the nation after the universities, after we pointed out the anti-black, the anti-poor, and white racist failed institutions of this country. We have been chucked out of these universities and were out of school in most of our time outside and back into our respective townships. In the process of us trying to get back to schools, we are trying to make sure that the decolonization project and student victimization is not linked into each other, as black student activists continue to try and decolonize and transform white-filled spaces like our universities. We need the universities to be more forthcoming in the issues of decolonization and black student activists. So from me, I would like to say, our parents, our communities, where we come from, this is the time for you to stand and support your own children who are now out of schools because they wanted and they saw and they stood out of for white racism, and they wanted a black filled space for a black country, for South Africa.
The university has victimized and suspended students from the University of Cape Town for the happenings of the Shackville back in February. Now we all know that these students were fighting for a noble cause, a cause that has benefited most of us within the university environment and community. So how is it that students have relaxed and they are in their comfort zones while these students have been chucked out of school for a noble cause, to get people accommodation, to fight for the fees, fight for the right that students have? And so we call upon all the students to be in solidarity with us. Everyone, we call upon all institutions to be in solidarity with these students to get them back into school.
When the students were facing academic exclusion, when the students were facing financial exclusion, the students who are currently excluded right now, they joined the students in their struggles. Now it is high time that all the students whose problems have been resolved to join the students who have been excluded right now, because they are being excluded, in seeing to it that their needs are being taken care of in these institutions of higher learning.
This is a call for all the students in South Africa to come together now to support all the expelled students. Also those artists, Casper Nyovesta, Questa, they must come and support us because they made a lot of music videos with our struggle. Fees must fall, Rose must fall. Isolate.
Le mouvement Rhodes Must Fall est un mouvement généralisé dans l'université de l'UCT et j'ai la chance d'avoir pu participer à ces cours durant ce semestre. Mais je pense qu'il serait bon que ces étudiants puissent revenir dans l'université et qu'ils puissent participer de nouveau aux cours qui sont une vraie richesse pour l'ensemble de l'université. Je pense que vraiment la diversité des étudiants à l'UCT est une chance pour l'UCT et qu'on devrait l'encourager. Et pour cela, je demande à ce que les étudiants qui ont été renvoyés puissent revenir dans leurs cours à l'UCT.
So, I'm from Turkey, but I study in Australia, so I'm a Turkish Australian. And I believe that every student who partaken in protest, which wasn't violent, should have the right to education like the rest of us. Because, yeah, I think it's a human right for everybody to have an education.
My name is Alexandria Hatz. I'm one of the RMF 5 as we are named. I'm an exile of UCT. I haven't been at school because I've been charged with other students for a number of things, and I'm interdicted, suspended and expelled. So I'm an exilee of UCT. On June 16th it will be 4 months since I have seen a university, the inside of a classroom, a tutorial, a lecturer, nothing. And we've had to go through a process for the last 4 months to fight for our right to education, to come back to the university through using lawyers that we don't have the resources for. And the irony is we charge for protesting, for occupying, when we were fighting for our right to education, and now we have to pay for a cost order from the university when we don't have money to pay school fees, and now we're expected to pay for lawyers. And I think the point is we want to come back to university, we want to have an education, and what does it mean to be fighting for free education and then get systematically excluded from the university for fighting that fight. And then UCT wants to use the work that you have done with RMF and with Fees Must Fall to celebrate, you know, our achievements, but at the same time expel us and ruin the lives of young black people at this university. We are 12 that are charged, 5 of us interdicted, but there are more coming. What does it mean for a university that claims to not be racist, that claims to not be anti-black, but we are systematically getting excluded and targeted by the institution?
Really, right now what's going on in terms of the movement of Fees Must Fall is basically the universities sort of trying to repress a whole lot of our sort of grievances as students, basically. And I mean, we're calling out for support from the communities and of course leaders that have been a part or that have claimed to be supporting the student movement of Fees Must Fall from last year, and obviously Rhodes Must Fall as well. I think Sharkville was sort of like a continuation of what really is impacting us as students. For instance, the issue of accommodation does not only affect UCT, but also as UJ, we have the same kind of a situation that's going on there. And I mean, as you saw in the news and I think on social media as well, with regards to students having to sleep in the offices that are for actual political parties within schools, due to the fact that there aren't any accommodation provided for students. So those type of situations basically are the ones that lead to students sort of being unsatisfied with the management of the university.
My own contextualization of the Sheikville incident was that really it resonates with me as a UJ student, because also in the University of Johannesburg you have what you call sophisticated hobos, students that are forced to live, to sleep in lecture halls and society offices because they necessarily do not have accommodation. So basically, reason why Sheikville emanates and also resonates with Fees Must Fall, and why it's a continuation of Fees Must Fall, is this very same question of inequality, because you have children that drive cars and that go to very comfortable homes, whilst you have children that sleep in lecture halls, shacks and whatnot. So really, Sheikville was a contextualization of the whole entire black experience in the university itself.
Chair, let us not have a very confined way of thinking, a very European blanket approach to things. We have taken, you yourself, Ms. Price, have written emails commending us of the forms of protest we've employed before, in the absence of you escalating the levels of the game. Now when we escalate the levels of the game, naturally we must escalate our pace. Now that is the direct response we have made to you because you've been violent to us. We are violent with the system that is violent to us. We are intellectual with people who are intellectual with us. Now it must be understood that all of this is a result of the violations that has been done to people who are currently being suspended. We cannot talk about these issues in isolation as if people who are suspended are not suspended due to the environment you've created as a university. We have never been open to dialogues with RMF. Now we must book Max Price more as if he's a special iconic figure in this university. Max Price, your salary is paid so you can take care of me. I'm a stakeholder in this university, a material one, in fact. Workers in this university are a material stakeholder. You can't take the council now and people in management and you think that power is centralized in you. And the only power we have is the moral ground we stand on. It is the truth we speak to you. Now we are telling you the truth. The truth is, this meeting can never be legitimate if some of our caterers can't be here. To us, Max Price is a criminal. I have a charge against this man, but I'm sitting with him here in the same room. He destroyed our shack. That shack was bought with hard-earned money.
Let's pay back the shack.
Yeah, we want the money for our shack first.
And you bring this from our house.
And future sittings should actually be made in Shackville. Because you as a university actually endorsed that act. And you must live up to it. It is only moral and just that the university, as it says, it supported that form of protest, not violent forms of protest. You must go to Shackville and you must have a very symbolic sitting there and talk about Shackville, how it was destroyed, why it was destroyed. Rhodes Must Fall as a movement spoke to the plights of society, and no one really related to the message we were trying to bring forth. The state in which black people still remain suppressed by this government, and everyone who is under that system of power is perpetuating it, is permeating it. It's very sad for me as a comrade and a friend of some of these cadres to watch them being substitute to a pain of so many people. If you talk about Shackville, The day in itself was at first supported by about 5 students, but when the university wanted to remove the shack, the students, all of them, after the call that was sent, felt as if the removal of that shack was deadly. Shackville died with a lot of people up to this day, and we are seeing that physically.
I would like to make a universal call. That is to say, we would like to make a request to the international community, the national community, the UCT community, to support UCT Shackville TRC that we've initiated as a student.
Ours as UWC Fees Must Fall is to offer radical solidarity. Radical solidarity to all the students that have been taken out and being expelled. We're saying that radical solidarity means that it's no longer about hashtags. We want all our bodies here, our minds, so that we can be able to find a solution to this problem. And the TRC solution seems to be the one that has garnered enough support amongst all the cadres from different institutions. If the students don't accept this, we'll start our own movement. Students must fall. Students must fall. Students must fall.
Mama, no.